Let me share my screen. So yesterday we talked about how you will going to elicit the requirement and all. So today we will going to discuss type of the requirement, and there are two types of the requirement. One is high level requirement, one is low level requirement. Um, High level requirement, it is a business objective, goals and needs, what business wants to accomplish from some certain things. The we can say that the description of top level goals, overall systematic feature, or more abstract in nature, is also called as a business requirement. So all those things are called as a business requirement. Top level goals, overall systematic features. So this is called the high level requirements. So the objective is something like, if we talk about the example of Tesla, then the objective is to create a affordable uh, electric car, right? So that is the high level requirement. What is low level requirement? We can say it's a detailed requirement. Describe the individual component within the system. So individual component, we can say, in our example, battery pack, drivetrain, range, those kind of stuff. How they operate, detail rather than overview. So it has to be very narrow down. You can talk in a very microscopic way rather than going over some overview or something. Rudimentary function rather than the complex overall ones. So you have to be specific what kind of things it will going to establish. So that is called the low level requirement. So we will going to discuss about the categorization of the requirement. So with the software industry, there are four specific or main part of the requirement. Whatever the agenda we have, the first one is the functional requirement. The second one is the data requirement. The third one is GUI requirement, and fourth one is non-functional requirement. So let's go one by one. The functional requirement describe the behavior and the information that the solution will manage. So functional requirement is a describe the behavior and the information that the solution will be managed. Whatever the solution is managed, it is a part of their behavior and their information about it. So that is called the functional requirement. That means that functional requirement describe the functionality of the product, what task or solution must perform, right? So whatever we are developing a car with 300 miles of range. So the functional requirement, we can say it has to be 300 miles. It has to do 300 miles. So if we talk about specific their console, the navigation console screen and the their vehicle screen, right? That contains, there are functional requirement. We can say that any user can log in, or user can log in, or driver can log in, check out the functionality. What kind of functionality. I can change my temperature with air conditioning. I can increase the heating, right? Temperature down, temperature up. uh, I also increase the or decrease the speed of fan as well, right? So those kind of functionality, we can say that is a functional requirement. Data requirement. So data requirement, how you will going to capture the element of data or the information, and what information and data, both are the different things. So if you guys can tell me what is the difference between data and the information, any of you?
Uh, Data is nothing but like roughly if we get some kind of figures like numbers, which might be structure or non-structure. So let's say, for example, if I am getting some kind of understanding with certain number, the understanding is nothing but like information. But whatever the number, or it might be some sort of like a collective, like a group of information, will be considered as like a data.
And what is the information then?
Like for example, let's say for example, I need a job. Okay, so that I can consider like let's say like we 3 to 4 members, we are joining here with the agenda of cracking a job after like 1 or 2 months. Okay, so the numbers which we have, it might be considered as data because it might fluctuate. Like there is no proper figure or no proper exact numbers. Today it might be 3, but tomorrow it might be 4. But the end result is like getting a job. That can
That
be
is the
considered
task,
as like
right? No, we are talking about data or information. Data and information, not all.
the data can be if I write down in Excel how much I spend every day on food, right? Then I can do on first I spend this much, on second I spend this much, on third I spend this much. At the end of the month, all that from first to 30th is data. If I make a total of it, and if I get a total of 500 at the end of the month, then that is information that I spent 500 on food in the month of December.
Right. So it's very simple. Meaningful information is always called data, and the information is, it is a part of data, but it is, general everything. So what do you mean by meaningful information? So meaningful information have some certain criteria. If you are saving your data, if you are saving your password, right? uh, Whenever you are typing anywhere a new password or something, there are some discipline you have to follow. It will say it has to be 8 letter long, 8 character long. It has to be a mix of alphanumerical value. It has to contain any sort of symbols or something. The first, or capital and small letter has to be included. So those kind of fields, right? So if you are not able to make it, then that is the information. If you are able to do it, then that is the data.
How, how about like if we say there are like 10 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like number one, if I say like 1, it's not giving any proper information. So that those numbers can be considered as a data. But if there is like specific information which we can understand, okay, this number represents some sort of ideal situation, that's considered as like any proper information can be considered like a group of data is considered as information.
No,
No?
no. Information is the just a general, lots of things. It's just an information. Data is a meaningful information. So meaningful in what regards meaningful, right? Everybody has their own definition of meaningful. So in terms of whatever the system you are using, regarding to that system, if number one is representing something in your system, then yes, it is meaningful information. So that is data. If it is not, then it is information. If it is representing the index number of any database table, then yes, it is your data, right? It has to correlated with your database, and data means, probably not with the database as well, because sometimes, yeah, whatever the work you are doing related to that. Suppose you are making some excel sheet, just like, Malav gave the example. He was going through his monthly budget, and at the end of the month, whatever the figure is he is getting, that is the meaningful information for him. He has all information, but those are not meaningful, right? Whatever he needs to capture, that is the meaningful information, and that is called data. So a comment field shall be 7 character. All those kind of, what is it called, the discipline. I forgot the exact word for that. There has to be something.
Constraint.
No, 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 not constraint. Uh, Give me one. It's called validation. Yeah. So there are some validation needs to be there. So the common field shall be 7 character. The password shall contain a number, uppercase, small letter, capital letter, some symbols, blah 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 things, right? So those are considered as a validation. So whenever any user, using your system, whatever the system you are developing, and you are capturing some information out of, mark my word, this is information. Till now it is information, it is not data yet. So whatever the information you are capturing from the front end page of your particular system, right? So those information has to be validated, and if it is validated and it is valid from the backend system, then that information, we can say that those are the data for your particular system. Understood? So it has to be defined. It has to be defined before you go there. Is there a data requirement? So you have to ask whatever the information user, anybody will going to design a system, and then they will going to say that, we need this much of form. This form contain 20 some of columns which contain a separate kind of things, some radial buttons and low blow things. You have to type in your address and everything. So you have to ask, is there a validation? Is there a validation already assigned to that? Is there a data requirement? That is considered as a data requirement. So you have to ask question. That is your part as a business analyst. Then the third one is graphical requirement, graphical user interface, or we can say GUI requirement, user interface. It's called GUI, GUI, GUI. So graphical user interface is what? Whatever we are seeing, whatever we are able to see visually, those things are called GUI. The email we are accessing on the screen, the website we are going, all things are GUI, all graphical user interface. By going through that, you will going to explore some information. It is all those information is prepared in very particular manner, so it would be a user friendly, right? Some radial button, some checkbox, username, password, whatever you are doing. So whenever you go for a GUI requirement, you have to ask that, is that user friendly? Some basic thing. People are doing something and cancel button is up. That doesn't make sense. It has to be down, right? Those kind of things. It has to be user friendly, and it has to be, you know, there has to be not that much complicated to understand as simple user, right? Nowadays, people used to say that, my child is so genius, he is able to operate cell phone. When I was young, yeah, people used to say that my nephews and nieces and everybody, their mothers. So they says that, child is not genius. The engineers are genius who made this technology simple enough so a 2-year-old child can operate it. So it's a other way around. It's not the child is genius, but the technology is dumb enough so anybody can operate. Even a chimpanzee can operate and see the videos on the iPad, right? So people are making a lots of investment when they are designing any sorts of technology nowadays, and that investment is also how to make it really user friendly, UI UX or GUI, right? That is a must thing. Otherwise you don't know how to operate some certain things. It would be really difficult to do so. Fourth one is non-functional requirement. It might get little bit confusing to define non-functional requirement, but so let's take it step by step. A non-functional requirement, any requirement that is non-functional. However, this definition is not sufficient enough, because if we take the data requirement for example, it's clearly not functional requirement. There are neither functional or non-functional requirement. So there are some certain requirement we are seeing which is not considered, it will not going to fall in three other discipline. So it will going to fall in some other thing, non-functional, you can say. So let's go one by one. So first one is usability. Whatever the system you are using or you are developing, is it how usable is it? How usability of the system is good, bad, agree. Security is what? Is it good security? It's secure website or secure product what we are developing. If we are developing Tesla vehicle and anybody with laptop can hack that particular system, and because of the blessing of autonomous vehicle, that person able to drive the vehicle without any driver, right? In some movies they shown some certain things like that, cars driving by itself, those kind of stuff they can hack inside the system. So that is a worst case scenario for the company. If it is happening, then the entire company will going to sink. And the classic example of that is in 2018 or 17, there are some 4 million or something account has been breached from Yahoo, and because of that there are lots of information has been leaked, and because of that the company value is really depreciate, and they are not able to bounce back after that. If we talk about in probably same era, probably 2016 or 17, Sony, the huge company, they had some email breach, and their upcoming projects and everything are goes public. They have to cancel lots and lots of projects because if they are not able to make it secure, some certain project they are not able to do it, right? Because they want to reveal that particular time where they are launching some new show, TV shows or some movies or something, right? So security is very crucial nowadays. Scalability. So scalability means what? Do you understand anybody's word scalability? Scale.
Scale, a business should run on a large scale or a low scale.
Yes,
That's
correct.
the scalability.
Yes, yes. a project should be on a low scale or a high scale. Correct. That's scalability. Yes, that's correct. So scalability is your project is running somewhere, right? In some cloud system. So you have 100 user right now. So your machine will going to run on single component. Your project is running on the single machine. It didn't require a huge thing. And all of a sudden you are launching a new product on your website, and all of a sudden you get traffic of 1 million user per second. 1 million user, right? So that single machine, single server, it's not able to handle all the requests. So you have to scale up your project. You have to create a multiple instance of the particular project which is deployed in the system, and it will going to run parallelly. You will not going to understand whether it will going to work from a single machine or it will going to work from the instance of the machines. You will not going to know whether one machine is located in North America, another machine located in Japan or Europe or somewhere else. You will never know. Google works that way. If the user will going to increase, you have to scale up your application. If the user decrease, you have to scale down your application. So scalability is a very huge thing. The outage of any system is happening which is running live in a production. It's a huge thing. They will going to lose business. Company might get sink because of that. So it cannot be happening. So that is a huge thing. Availability. So your system has to be available, right? If it is not available or something like that, whenever users is accessing because of the scalability issue or anything, that might be not good for the business. It has to be up and running 24 by 7. Reliability. So because of the scalability, availability, there is a huge thing of reliability, right? Whether it will going goes down or something like that, you are using your bank account with your cell phone, and it's not reliable. It's going down. You are not able to access your money. That's not a good thing, right? You have money, but you are not able to access it. All servers are down or ATM are down. You are not able to get your money. Even though if you go inside the bank and ask somebody, give me my money, they will not going to give you money because that system is not working, right? So it has to be reliable as well. Interoperability is, can the system work if other competing system is in place, if the system can work in the harmony with other system. This is called probability. So interoperability is basically what, if your system is working, this is the classic example with multiple projects are deployed into single machine. So if it is not the case, that is not the case where you need to think about interoperability. But if the multiple application running side by side within a one machine means, in the cloud, one single node. A node is representation of a single computer. That is called a single machine. So if it is running into a single machine, usually there will be no probability. But if it is running multiple application in one machine or one node, there will be. So if machine has a similar kind of features, so not machine, sorry, there are two applications running in the single machine, and those two application has a similar kind of technology. So suppose it is running on Java. One is running on Java version 5 point something, and one is running on 7 point something. And they both applications running into same kind of atmosphere, and they are using same kind of Java. So because the version is colliding, there might be a case, it will be going to conflict with each other, and your one of the application, both of the application will going to break down. So it has a good solution. Use a containerized environment, have their own environment. Nobody will going to touch it. If you are running into a single node, multiple application, there would be isolated environment for each and everybody. So everybody has their own space, own resources. So you shouldn't be worried about anything else. So there will be no interoperability because of that. So extensibility, the ability to extend the application, service, or a product. Can you expand the service, a system of a service or anything? So it has to be extendability friendly, the ability to extend the application, the service, or product. Maintainability. So you have to also check that what is the maintainability cost. If you are running the one application which has to be monitored all the time and you require a bunch of means more than two, three, four, five people has to take care of the system all the time 24 by 7, then it is a huge maintainability issue. Because of that, the company has to pay or spend lots of money to maintain some certain functionality or feature. But nowadays, people go for the automation. It has to be take care by some genius tool. What we are seeing in the contemporary market. So there will be no fix or bugs or issue related to it. There is no uncertainty associated about it, because whatever it will going into production, it will thorough through some lots and lots of testing, and then it will going to deploy into production. The next one is portability. So is the application is portable? Plug it in and install it, and then boom, it's bring it up. So it has to be portable wherever you are deploying that particular application. Within a few seconds, it has to be deployed. You don't have to run lots of script or something like that and deploy that product. It will going to take like project or something, right? 4 5 hours, and then yes, it is deployed. Then it's a nightmare. Business rule, organization, policy, guidelines, and control. So, if some certain application, suppose you are developing one of the application for bank domain or some financial institute, they have a really strict rules associated with their organization policies, guidelines, and controls. So that particular application has to follow those guidelines, policies, and all the controls associated with that. So before you will going to discuss about it, you as a business analyst has to know what are their business rule, what are their core belief they are believing in. They are means the company believing in. So it has to be reflected on every product they are building. So it is your part, your job to take care of that thing. Back in your mind, you have to take care of that thing and understand what are the policies associated with that. And nobody, even the product, will not going to violate that. The quality. So quality of the product has to be up to the mark. It has to be benchmark before even development will going to start. So quality is very crucial nowadays. Resilience, the ability to come back to its original shape. So suppose resilience means what? So a bank Bank of Baroda, Bank of America, has deployed a new version of the software for their ATM machines and everything. After one day of 24 hour of running a new software, they find some issue associated with that. It will going to change the money in some of their account. So that is a bug associated with the system. So it has to go back to their previous state, whatever it is, the version number. So suppose they have released 2.7.1, so it will go back to 2.7.0 without there are much kind of hard work on doing so on the server side. So it has to be resilience. It has to go back to the previous state without any problem. Nowadays we have very genius tools available with the DevOps. So we have a very good resilience availability because of some tool and great DevOps engineers. So it won't be a problem if you have a dedicated team in your project. Recovery, if anything happen, crash or something, any bad thing happen, so it has to go back, in a probably number of minutes or something. So if you remember, probably in October, November or something, YouTube has been crashed over here. You are not able to do any of the YouTube side or Google side, matter of fact. So it was not that much, long time, but it happened, and it will, come back, crash and recover it from that particular crash. So there has to be no loss of data or anything like that. So this is a very classic example of recovery. And a huge company, huge corporation like Google, YouTube, all those have a, their business is, on the stake of the reliability, availability, scalability, security. So they have the, teams of engineers who is taking care of those things, and you will never know what kind of new threat will going to come up with associated with the security. Nowadays internet is a very very suspicious and very very dangerous place to stay. So they are taking care of it. Most of the people or most of the companies, huge companies, they are taking care of it. But hackers are becoming smarter and smarter. So you never know. So this is the non-functional requirement.